Welcome to the Cash Flow Project Podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cash Flow Project. I'm your host, Vince Gethings with Tri-City Equity Group. And today on the show, we have Bill Hamel out of Albany, New York. Bill purchased his first property at 21 years old, had two separate partnerships throughout his journey of accumulating and managing over 40 buildings and up to 2019. And at that point, he decided to move away from property management and focus on larger multifamily acquisitions, where he sold all of his smaller properties and began identifying larger opportunities, utilizing powerful tax benefits like the 1031 exchanges. And then shifting focus, he's since accumulated 5 new properties totaling 165 units with the goal to acquire 3 more large multifamily properties in 2022, and is growing rapidly, growing his investor base and teaching on his own successes and failures of being a property manager in his journey. So definitely going to provide a lot of value on this show. Pretty excited. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Vince. I always appreciate when people give me the opportunity to share my story. And at this point, as you just said, if I can get some value to people based on my successes and failures, that's my big why at this point.
Got it. Well, let's get into it. So it's just, you said you've been doing this for about 20 years. What was the first kind of decision of how you originally got into real estate in general to even start acquiring so many? You said 40 buildings, but I forget the number you said about actually how many units you had over that span of time.
Yeah, about 240 apartments over a long period of time. So I was working in a restaurant and I had a relationship with another employee at that restaurant, and the relationship ended. And looking back, I figured out that was my big why at the time. Okay. At that point, that event basically said, I need to do something with my life. I read a book. And before I was even done with that book, I was off looking for that first 2-family property.
What book?
Nothing Down for the 90s by Robert Allen.
Oh, never heard of that book.
Well, he also does a 2000s version as well. Same concepts, but I'm sure it sells better than Nothing Down for the 90s at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So you started getting in your first deal, you started looking at like duplexes, and then you got hooked, started buying a bunch of them.
Yeah. The goal was in that book, which was mind blowing to me because I knew nothing about real estate, was buy a 2-family once a year for 10 years. Mm-hmm. You look at what those projected cash flows are from year to year and the equity from year to year. And I'm looking, wow, in 10 years, I can have this. I had no idea. So at that point, it excited me so much where I'm going to give this a shot. That looks like it may be my next career. So at age 21, I had that big why. I was able to start that business, get some momentum, build up a small portfolio. And then I just discovered different things through my education over that time, discovering foreclosures, distressed real estate, being able to do those value add deals, create instant equity, eventually getting into the medium size multifamily, really focusing on that style real estate for a bit. And then got into the Great Recession. At that point, I had a nice portfolio, and I don't think any of us knew what was going to happen, especially if you watch the news. And I was protecting what I had built. Unfortunately, with that fear-based focus at that point, I lost all my momentum. Mm-hmm. I stalled. At that point, I'm now trying to perfect an imperfectible business, which is called residential property management. And for the next 7 or 8 years, I felt like I created a job. And I didn't get into real estate back in my 20s to have a job. It was to have freedom. So I had a health issue and a lot of reflection. And a couple years ago, I decided to walk away from hands-on property management, sell all of our smaller buildings and scale, take that big leap from the minor leagues to the majors.
Love it. So while you're building your portfolio, you're essentially vertically integrated, right? As we call it, where you were the property manager for your own portfolio. What were some of the pros and cons of that? Because a lot of people, they have a really hard time, especially on the smaller properties, handing off property management to somebody else. And we try to explain to them, like, you're going to be your own bottleneck in this equation. You're going to be the bottleneck where you're not going to be able to scale. You're going to hit a wall because you're trying to be your own. You're trying to do everything yourself to save 10% or something like that. So I guess what were the pros and cons for you going vertically integrated and being your own property manager for that the small deals, the portfolio of the small deals?
Control early on, it was really just going one deal at a time. Me and my partner were doing everything: deal acquisition, creative financing, close on the property, jump in there. Now we're rehabbing for 30 or 60 days. We're doing the work. We're doing the work from property to property to property. Fortunately, starting at 21, you're able to make some pretty good progress, even though we're so diluted, so distracted trying to wear so many hats. But over time, it's so funny. I stumbled into different things where I was a deal finder, and eventually I became, I haven't been finding any deals lately. What happened? Well, my focus went from finding deals to, wow, I'm a property manager. That's where all my focus is. That's where my time's being spent. But I created that habit, the routine, and now I'm a property manager and really learning the business over 5, 6, 7 years. You're seeing, if I'm going to be in this, I need to be a professional. So now you're really focused on trying to be the best at the business as you possibly can. And I continue to get more and more in the trenches of controlling everything, to the point where I'm just trying to really perfect this imperfectible business, but just being too involved in that property management business. Excuse me.
Got it. So what was the decision point? Did you have like an aha moment? Did you have like a straw that broke the back of an event that was like, all right, we're going to have a major shift here, going from me being the property manager and this trajectory around with the small multifamilies and the single families to where we're going now, which is the large multifamilies? Like, what was that kind of moment, that jump off moment where you're like, I need to rechange my vector here?
It actually started probably 10 years ago. I went to a Tony Robbins event and I learned be an owner, not an operator. So at that point, they talk about creating an operations manual and a lot of other things. Those events are so powerful. And I went back to the office and I started that operations manual. I need to have my employees run the business. Mm-hmm. So this manual starts off as a couple-page document and quickly evolves into systems and procedures, how the employees can run the business. And I unfortunately just never allowed it to take hold the way it should. I learned so much looking back now, especially in the educating myself with so many people, with a mentorship community, seeing that I never allowed my employees to fail, to fall down, get back up, grow. So as I'm trying to be an owner, not an operator, I'm jumping in saying, oh, you're doing that wrong, push them out of the way, so to speak, and take over. So I continued to have that control. I could not get out of my own way. Ultimately, it took me 8 or 9 years. I created a great manual, but I got burned out. Mm-hmm. It just reached a point about 2019. I pulled into the driveway one night after a rough day and said, I'm done. I texted both my partners and I said, I'm selling all our small properties. I'm done being a property manager. And it was as simple as that.
Got it. And that was 3 years ago. and shifted focus, got some, joined some mentoring groups, some coaching groups, and shifted focus. So, that was one of the things I want to kind of touch on here in the importance of your new focus and staying consciously aware of where your energy is being spent. And I feel like you have some comments on that.
Yeah, I certainly do. Once again, I realized it into 2021, the power of focus. And I've realized by doing a lot of personal development, the power of language, and you study this stuff. And, you unfortunately dabble here and there, you get busy, you get distracted. But once I shifted away from that focus on property management, for a year, it took me to sell 40 buildings. And I'm running around the country doing 1031 exchanges. And that was a year through 2020, basically throughout 2020, a little bit into 2021. But I am now focused on deal acquisitions, doing what we all do to find deals, contacting brokers, just letting everybody know who you know that what your new interest in. I'm no longer interested in 2 families or 10 units. I'm interested in large apartment communities. And I am focusing on that 7 days a week. I'm no longer a property manager. And about 6 months into 2021, I'm having great success. I'm like, wow, I'm now focused on deal acquisitions and it's happening. Yes, I have a lot of credibility from being in the business for years, and I have the ability to get into assets. I've got resources from being in the business so many years. But when I was focused on property management, every day I was managing tenants, maintenance staff, dealing with emergency issues, handling projects, handling rehabs. And once I set that aside and now I'm just looking for deals, in 2021, I'm just like, oh my God, is it that simple? Is focus that powerful?
Absolutely. That's right. The one thing with, was that Gary Keller?
Yeah.
Is that right? Gary Keller and Jay Pappison? So. Yeah. That book is very, if you're having, I guess, trouble figuring out like the tips and tricks and habits to instill and the whys behind the power of focus. Outstanding book. It takes like the 80-20 rule to the extreme. The whole, name of the book, what's the one thing, right, that you can focus on today that's going to move the needle for your company. And especially at entrepreneurs, we get focused on busy work, our heads down, and we're just focused on putting fires out and the busy work of the day. And we never actually kind of look up and kind of look, the 10,000 foot view of like, is the ship even going in the right direction? Like, are we even making substantial progress toward our goals? Or am I just trapped doing busy work all day? So it's, as an entrepreneur, it's very hard because without that, you can go through all the coaching, go through all the courses and mentorships and read all the books. But unless you're consciously aware and have that like kind of pause button throughout the day of like, what am I actually doing right now? Where's my focus at right now? You can go weeks or months with your head down and realize that, your boat's going in the wrong direction. You're 4 degrees off from your course. And you go that way for so many months and you're like, wow, I'm way off course because you're so busy on busy work. So I love the focus. I love being, having those pause buttons throughout the day of being consciously aware of, where is my energy being spent? Is it on value creating activities, revenue generating activities, or is it just busy work that I should be creating a SOP for and delegating it down to my staff and my employees? The very powerful stuff there. Thank you. All right. So going from that, so you've gotten some great focus and some great progress into 2021. So what's next? What's on the horizon? What are your goals? We're recording this Q1 of 22. So the year's just kicking off. Now that you've kind of fully redirected your efforts into large multifamily, how has that affected your goal setting for 2022, and what are some of those goals, and what are the tips or tricks or habits that you're doing, systems that you're doing to make sure that you achieve those?
Well, we have a goal of 3 large multifamilies in 2022. That was my goal in 2021. That shift in focus, I did 4 deals.
Nice.
So we overachieved, and We've done 191 units the past 14 months since that shift in focus. And if I'm able to do another 3 large deals, maybe scaling up, leveling up a little bit on the door count, and getting 150, 200 units in 2022, I'd be very satisfied with that. Also have, a goal of, since that change in focus, where we are building relationships very intentionally, thought platforms with meetups, really working the database that I had to go back in time, which I had neglected so much.
It's so hard. It's so hard to get updated.
It's amazing. And I've been doing this a long time, and I had databases, then they fell apart. Databases fell apart, and I just neglected an extremely part of any business. So here I am trying to rebuild a database, from the last many, many years. But now it took me so long to understand the importance of it, especially when, all right, we're going to buy 3 really large properties this year, 50, 100 unit buildings. We can't do that on our own. Capital becomes an issue. We're now raising money, so that database of people that I've met in business over the years, well-to-do property owners, and all of those relationships that I could have nurtured along this way, boy, would this money-raising thing be so much simpler.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the importance of keeping a good database, and now we have like cloud-based stuff. You can have it anywhere. Once you start importing into like a cloud-based CRM, you can have it on your phone, you can have it on your computer, you can just pull it up anywhere. You see run somebody at the store that from back when. You can go in your database. Oh, make sure I reach out to Richard, right, for coffee or something like that. And those are some of the systems that are, I think we use Active Campaign is ours. It's a pretty standard, popular one. But yeah, it's absolutely vital when you're growing a business, especially in real estate. If you need investors and need partnerships, to have some way to track, and because you meet a lot of people, especially at events. You go to an event, there's like 900 people. How are you going to keep that organized? Because by the end of the weekend, your brain's kind of mush of all the people you met, all the conversations, trying to sort it out. So good stuff there. The importance of keeping a good CRM and a good database to keep documenting your interactions with people. Good stuff. So what are some of the biggest mistakes you've made, either with how about two mistakes, 2 big ones? One with the smaller properties, the bill before, and then maybe the new bill with the large multifamily. What are some of the things that you had to overcome, or mistakes that you've made and had to overcome? On
the small properties, about, I would say 6 or 7 properties in, we were making good buys. We're putting in the sweat. We're buying buildings low, putting in some value add, and we were building up equity, putting them in the portfolio, but not following the rules, meaning we're anxious to rent apartments and making mistakes, exceptions to the rules when we're doing tenant selection, and just not following what I did very professionally for the past 20 years now, where it's as simple as honestly checking credit, landlord references, employment with supporting information. It's amazing when you honestly do those 3 things, how it minimizes the risk in tenant selection.
Yep.
Where I knew that through the education I was doing for those first 6 or 7 years, but just that impatience. And for whatever reason, at that young age, making exceptions to the rules, we were getting our asses kicked by tenants, making mistakes, not getting rent. And then when we get them out of the apartment, they leave a damaged apartment.
Yep.
So it just got to a point where me and my partner, had to have a professional discussion and say, if we're going to do this, we've got to do it right, because we're just really wasting a lot of time and energy here. So that was the one big mistake that we made early on, but it was such a big, painful mistake. We just completely shifted and said, all right, now we've got to do it this way. And that shift, doing it the correct way, boy, did that shore up the business. and have instant success. Now you're able to not seamlessly, property management is not a perfectible business, but boy, does it go so much smoother when you're putting the right tenants in your properties.
Yep, absolutely.
And getting into, I guess, the second mistake, let me think here. I have to go back, to what we were originally talking about is, I had pretty good deal flow in 2021, and I did raise some money. I got into whatever deals I wanted to get into, but for someone with the credibility that I had built and the people that I know and the inner circle that I've had because I've lived in the same area for so long, it was difficult to raise a substantial amount of money. And, once again, that huge mistake of just having that proper commitment along the way to nurture those relationships. So I'm able to really raise money effectively, once I got to this stage of my life, this stage of my career. So that was a huge mistake, but fortunately, understanding that we're doing all the right things now, to know how to raise money, all the proper ways, develop interest, warming up investors, and really setting people up for that next great deal.
I love it. So how long, before we kick over to the fire round, on average, how long does it take for you to maybe first interaction, you meet somebody at a conference or a meetup, the time that they're ready to commit and they trust you, your team, your business model, and the deal looks good? What does that timeline normally look like on, say, an average, investor?
Well, an average investor, I've done one deal where I had to raise. Okay. And the interesting part was I've had a pretty large inner circle of friends because I've lived in this area so long. So fortunately, a lot of my friends have done pretty well. And, they made it to that friends and family list. And then I had that list of people that I've known in the business for a long time. And each set of relationships, I believe, had a respect for what I've done. I've been successful basically on all the deals that I've done and built up a pretty good body of work. And I found that the people that I did business with were easily converted or easier converted. Where my close friends and some I've known since elementary school, junior high, and high school, they're not so easily converted. The conversion rate was drastically lower. And I found that very interesting. I do hear that from other people who are raising money. But that dynamic, that psychology, I don't know if they're thinking, well, I don't want to mix business with friendship or what the reason is. At some point, I got to sit down with my really close friends and say, all right, let's be honest with me. What's in your head with these great deals that I'm bringing you? Because we're, as you know, we're not asking for favors. We're just looking to team up. And
we're providing the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very interesting stuff there. So I guess the kind of the lesson learned there is if you're going to be raising on, your first deal, don't expect your friends and family that you've known forever to come in and take that first deal down with you. You probably have better luck with people in a business aspect, maybe coworkers or business associates that understand investing and know you personally from a business standpoint rather than a personal relationship. Maybe a way to prioritize your list of prospects on a first raise, because I've had very similar experiences as well with that. So I don't think it's an uncommon occurrence. But good stuff, good advice. So we're going to kick it over to the fire round and the same questions we asked everybody, and I'll see what you got. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So what's your favorite book that you recommend other than Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins.
Good book. Good stuff. Okay. Tony Robbins book. Love it. All right. What is your superpower?
My superpower is patience and deal selection. I've been around a long time, and I'm not looking to just get into any deal. That deal has to be juicy.
Yep. That's a very, very good superpower to have, is the patience. I see a lot of people where I'm talking them out of this deal that they brought me to help underwrite or whatever. And I'm like, I know you want to get in something. I know you've been chomping at the bit for 6 months. This isn't the deal. You have to have patience. You have to stick to your underwriting, your criteria. That's why it's so important to, develop a criteria of what a deal that you want looks like, what the returns need to be in order to pull the trigger, and stick to it. Because as soon as you start bending those criteria and start taking lower deals, that's when the market's going to turn or whatever, right? So you don't want to be stuck with that. Good stuff. That's a good one. What is the biggest lesson you've learned over your career?
Delegate, delegate, delegate. I went too many years and I was a control freak, and boy, be the CEO, delegate all of those low priority tasks, focus on needle mover items.
Love it. Yep. That's good. And you can only do that if you sit down and have the discipline to develop those systems and processes and those procedures, like you were saying that you did with your book there. That stuff is not easy. There are cool apps that now and websites that can help you do that, VAs and stuff like that. They can help you actually create an employee handbook or a operations manual. But it's definitely tedious. Definitely takes discipline to do it. Because a lot of people are like, I just got everything up here. It's faster if I just do it. You got to write it down. You got to do it. So good stuff. For the busy working professional who is working towards financial freedom, what tips do you have for them?
Focus. Really chunk their day. If they're busy at their W-2 all day, that's their focus. Mm-hmm. So when you're focusing on, your real estate business, you really have to shift and now focus directly on what you need to do with real estate. And that's the challenge. It's not easy. And you really have to time block so you're focusing clearly on what you're trying to accomplish, with your real estate business, because that diluted focus is diluted results.
Yep. Good advice. All right. Well, it's been a great show. How can our listeners get a hold of you? And if you have any other last bit of advice or comments for them?
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity once again, Vince. And you can reach me at bill@hamelrealestate.com. Also, drop me a call or a text, 518-857-9251. But the only thing I can add at this point is have a great plan, have a great why you're trying to accomplish anything, and be really serious about knocking out those massive action items to get you to that result. Have that daily focus, stare at that plan every day, and you will get what you focus on.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, thank you for this show, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Vince.
There's a great show with Bill Hamel there, that showing us the power of focus. You want to write down your tasks, your goals for that, your top priorities for that quarter, for that year, and really have the self-awareness to look at where you're spending your time, where you're spending your energy, and are those energies being spent on things that are going to accomplish your goals or not? Are you doing, CEO tasks like he said, or are you doing the busy work that you could easily document, create an SOP for, and delegate down? And that's really where he started scaling. That break between 2019 and 2021, where he really started shifting his focus, delegating the smaller stuff, and focusing on deal acquisitions, and is absolutely crushing. He crushed it in 2021 with 5 deals and has big plans for 2022. So I'm sure he's going to accomplish them. He's on the right path. It's going to be great to watch Bill and his company grow. So reach out to Bill if you have any questions about his journey there, going from small property manager to now large multifamily investor. If you're interested in investing with us, you can go to tricityequitygroup.com and learn about more. If you want to hang out with our community, we have a group, Honolulu Multifamily and More. It's our Facebook group. We do meetups, especially if you're in Hawaii. You want to go do some of our in-person meetups there, or just come join the page. Reach out to us. You can reach out to me anytime. If you like this episode, please like it, share it, create a review for it, positive review, hopefully, on wherever you're listening from, Apple or Spotify. And other big news is we have our conference coming up in Hawaii. It's going to be a first conference for Tri-City Equity Group and Band & Brothers. It's going to be on the island of Oahu, 5-star resort, Four Seasons Ko'olina, absolutely world-class resort there. We're expecting about 400 people to attend the event. And we have, hotels booked out. Disney Alani's next door, so you can bring your family. We're going to be going over everything from multifamily investing, short-term rental investing, buying and scaling franchises. Me and one of my partners, D, he is big into franchises. I just bought some franchises as well, and how that fits into real estate investing. One of my favorite books from my mentors is The Honeybee by Jake Cinziano and Gina Barbaro. And it's about building those streams of income that all lead into the trunk of the tree, which is for us, multifamily. So we're developing more streams of income. All of those feed into multifamily, and that's what we're doing. So you can come out there, see what our blueprint is and how we're building our company. We're going to have our vendors that we use in our day-to-day business to help build and scale our companies. They're going to be out there speaking at the event as well. So definitely come out, the Hawaii Millionaire Mindset Conference, the blueprint. And you can go message us for the registration link, or you can go to millionairesmindsetblueprint.com to register there. But until next time, see you later.